This presentation will go over how to prepare students to become involved in their IEP meetings and transition planning discussions. The first question to ask is, what is self-determination? Self-determination is defined as a concept reflecting the belief that all individuals have the right to direct their own lives. This means that teachers, counselors, and parents are not telling students how to live their lives and what they should be doing, but that students have the opportunity to come up with their own goals and plans for life. The next question to ask is, what is self-advocacy? According to Autism Speaks, self-advocacy is speaking up for yourself, asking for what you need, negotiating for yourself, knowing your rights and responsibilities, using resources that are available to you and finding those resources, and being able to explain your disability either by the use of written words, pictures, or gestures. So how can students develop the skills of self-determination and self-advocacy? One really good way to develop these skills is by attending their IEP and transition meetings from an early age. This gets them practicing talking about their disabilities, asking for what they need and want, and reflecting on how they best learn and what they need to be successful. Unfortunately, many students do not attend their IEP or transition meetings, and if they do, they don't participate very much. So this is the current issue. Students are not attending their IEP meetings, and so they're not developing these self-determination and self-advocacy skills that they need later in life. In a study, Morningstar, Turnbull, and Turnbull found that students decided not to attend meetings because they viewed the meetings as irrelevant and not helpful to their future. Also, when students do attend, a study by Martin, Marshall, and Sale found that students only talked 3% of the time at the meetings, as opposed to 51% of the time for their special ed teachers and 15% of the time for family members. So the students were going to the meetings, but they weren't participating in coming up with their goals and their future plans. Fortunately, there are many resources and strategies available to help students become more involved in their IEP meetings. One of these is one-pagers. There's person-centered planning, and part of that is mapping, relationship mapping. There are online resources such as templates for student-led meetings, questions to prepare students for IEP meetings, and video clips to prepare students for IEP meetings. One-pagers were developed by the Virginia Department of Education as part of their I'm Determined project started in 2004 to help students develop these self-determination and self-advocacy skills. The templates available on the I'm Determined website include 4 categories: strengths, preferences, interests, and needs. The student will fill out personal attributes under each category and then share the one-pager with teachers, administrators, students, counselors, etc. The students can explain their one-pagers either by talking through it or using video recorders and other devices. These are some examples of one-pager templates. The student can decide which template they want based on colors, based on layout, based on the questions asked, and they can change the questions that are asked on the template according to their skill level and their goals in the future. Person-centered planning is another great way to develop these self-determination and self-advocacy skills. And according to McGahey, Mason, and Wallace and Jones, it involves determining what the student and parents want for the future and then taking steps to ensure that those goals are met. And the students and the parents will make a list of things that work and don't work for the student, as well as a list of the student's interests and strengths, and then can use these lists and identifying the interests and strengths to come up with goals in the IEP meeting so that the student is involved in making these goals. Mapping is a part of person-centered planning, and it involves producing visual representations of people who can serve as supports for the student and community settings the student uses, according to McGahey, Mason, Wallace, and Jones. And it's divided into a visual map that's shaped like a target, and there are 4 categories: family members who are involved in my life, people and organizations that support me at home, friends, and people and organizations that support me at work, school, and training. So the student is in the center of the map, and the family circle is around the student, and then the student will think of people or community settings that will fall into each of the 4 categories, and then they can see for themselves everyone that they can ask or depend on or ask for support if they need it, and the resources that are available to them. The internet also has plenty of resources and strategies available to students and parents. There are templates for student-led meetings, which provide students with some structure and scaffolding to help them feel more comfortable and confident going into their meetings. So students can go into their IEP meetings having goals and bringing their own data and knowing what they're going to say. And also the iDetermined website, again, has slides where students can provide information about their strengths, interests, goals, concerns, accommodations, and what works and doesn't work for them, and then present these slides in an IEP meeting. There are also questions available online to help prepare students for IEP meetings. So students need to be aware of what an IEP meeting is, the purpose of the meeting, what they're going to be discussing in the meeting, and start asking themselves what they want for their future so that they can be a part of those conversations. The iDetermined website has a brochure for parents to fill out with their children and ask questions like, what are my academic strengths, how do I learn best, and what type of work do I enjoy and think I would be successful doing? The District of Columbia Secondary Transition website also has an excellent student-led IEP toolkit, which includes 5 modules to help students prepare for the IEP meetings. And the modules are as follows. Module 1 is Getting Started. Module 2 is Building Self-Awareness. Module 3 is Understanding Your IEP. Module 4 is Preparing for Participation. And Module 5 is Student-Led Individual Education Programs. And each of these modules includes questions and some video clips that the students can watch to become more comfortable with what an IEP meeting is and how to prepare for it. And finally, video clips are very helpful for preparing students for IEP meetings and getting them more comfortable so that they will participate in these meetings. The District of Columbia Secondary Transition website and the iDetermined website both have excellent video clips to help students see what an IEP meeting looks like and how they can begin participating. And it helps them see examples and hear how important they are to the IEP process so that they feel more secure about leading an IEP meeting and feel some responsibility for their future and their goals.